empowering is like an uplifting feeling of something outside of you that you're seeing, of the human spirit or human form, that you feel so fired up that you are going to act in a way or act on different things that you usually wouldn't. And I think inspiration, in my sense, that's where it lacks.
She has worked for President Barack Obama, spoken at the United Nations headquarters, and represented the United States on the U.S. Paralympic swim team. Kristin is a 5-time American Paralympic record holder, 3-time junior national record holder, and the former captain of the U.S. Paralympic swim team for the 2010 Greek Open. Kristin is currently an analyst inside FEMA's Transit Security Grant Program with its mission to prevent and mitigate terrorist attacks for transit systems.
Since there is no treatment or cure for the specific kind of muscular dystrophy that I have, swimming keeps my condition relatively stable. So that's another reason why I have just always been in love in the water, subconsciously also. But I think, going back to your main question, being physically active, I would love for disabled people to know that there's a certain level of confidence that you gain from being physically disabled and then also excelling very well, or excelling at your own personal level in something physically active. And it's so beneficial for you to be able to take pride in your body and own your body in a way that society is not necessarily really outright telling you at this moment. But whether that happens or not, you should at least own every part of your sense of self. And I think that is definitely your body also. Growing up, have always been told, wow, you're so inspiring. And it was in the sense of, you're so inspiring because you're really smart and you're disabled, right? And I always kind of alluded to like something with my disability. Now I see if someone says that and I ask them why, and if it's something that I've accomplished or things like that, I'm like, yeah, that's awesome, thank you. I don't actually really like using the word inspiring per se, because of those different connotations that as disabled people we know about and we get all the time. I still get to this day people who are like, wow, Kristin, I don't know how you do it, like just navigating a chair and blah, XYZ, and it's like, wow, I don't have time for this conversation. Like, I can tell you, like, this is just how my human existence is, and I could talk to you about living in an ableist society. I could go there, but then, you know, it also goes to, do I have the time, and what outcome do I expect? Maybe one of these days there's gonna be a film or a TV show where there's a disabled character and they're just a really awful person, and it has nothing to do with what we've seen in past media outlets of villains that are disabled and they become so cold-hearted because of their disability. No, they're just flat out like a jerk. Can we just stick with that? And that this is just another form of a human existence. I think that would be pretty cool. Most accessible place out of all the international places I've been is definitely Canada. Quebec was great, Ottawa was great, Edmonton was great. It was really accessible and clean also. Greece in 2010, it was right before their economy crashed. But regardless of that, just like a lot of cobblestone, and it wasn't that easy to get around because obviously their structure is a bit older. South Africa was great. South Africa was beautiful. I have not seen a gorgeous sunset like I have ever seen there. About the accessibility, though, off the top of my head, it wasn't that difficult as it was for Greece. Bogota, Colombia was my first international experience where I was seeing disabled people begging on the streets, and that really hit me hard to a certain extent. The accessibility for that wasn't that great either. But the most accessible, I would say, is Canada. It's a privilege to go outside and protest when there's people who physically cannot leave their home. And that's why we still, I'm so grateful and happy that we live in a country that has access of voting and fully includes people that cannot leave their house. Or, you know, if we go back and talk about protests, there's people on the autism spectrum or with an emotional disability, and they just cannot be around that many people all at once. But you still want to contribute without feeling guilty or bad about yourself and how intricate you are made in your human form to still contribute to these issues. I definitely believe that representation of all human forms matter. But I think the way to do that, and maybe this is where our technology comes into play with social media and having a more active voice online or things like that, can really showcase women or men with different disabilities doing really incredible things. I think that is one of the great things that is making the world a bit smaller if we want to talk about social media and technology and the internet and our cell phones. But I do think that altogether our culture is slowly changing to be more represented. It's definitely not there. I'm not sure it will ever be perfect. I don't think it will. But as we can see, it is slowly changing.